I stood there in my wedding dress, frozen in the middle of the aisle, waiting for Ryan to walk through the doors. Every second felt heavier. Every whisper from the guests felt like it was cutting into my skin. I kept telling myself he was running late, maybe stuck in traffic, maybe fixing something last minute. But deep down, a cold feeling was already spreading in my chest. Something was wrong. Something was terribly wrong. My dad tried to comfort me by placing a hand on my shoulder, but even he couldn't hide the embarrassment in his eyes. The pastor kept glancing at his watch. My bridesmaids shifted awkwardly. And then there was Chloe, my best friend since high school, hovering around me, holding my hand, rubbing my back, acting like she was the most supportive person on earth. But her face, something about it was off. She looked nervous, almost jumpy, like she expected this. I noticed it only for a second before another wave of humiliation crashed over me. When someone finally whispered that Ryan wasn't coming, my legs almost gave out. I remember gripping the side of a chair, trying to keep myself upright, trying not to cry in front of everyone. But the tears came anyway. Not quiet tears, full, shaking sobs that made the room spin. All the months of planning, all the dreams I'd built around this day, all the future I imagined. It just fell apart in front of a room full of people. Chloe wrapped her arms around me and kept saying, "It's okay, Emma. It's okay." But she said it in this strange, rushed way. Like she needed me to calm down fast. Like she didn't want me thinking too much. She kept guiding me to sit down, pressing tissues into my hand, moving too close, talking too much. I appreciated the comfort, but something about her felt wrong. Almost as if she wasn't shocked. Almost as if she knew more than she was letting on. I didn't have the strength to question it then. My heart was too broken, and my mind felt too heavy. The only thing I could feel was this painful mix of confusion and heartbreak. I kept staring at the empty doorway, hoping Ryan would appear, hoping this was a misunderstanding, hoping my world wasn't really falling apart. But it was. Eventually, people started leaving quietly. My dad spoke with the pastor, my mom held my veil like it was something fragile, and I just sat there in the front row, still in my dress, staring at nothing. Chloe stayed close, almost too close, like she wanted to control every moment around me. I didn't know it then, but the pain of being left at the altar wasn't the real betrayal. It was only the beginning. The truth waiting behind it was darker, deeper, and aimed straight at me from the person I trusted most. If only I had been paying attention to the way Chloe's hands shook, or how she avoided looking me in the eyes. Maybe I would have seen the cracks earlier. But I was blind, and they knew it. Moving back into my parents' house felt strange, like I had gone backward in life. My room was the same as it was years ago, but I didn't feel like the same person. Most days, I woke up with this heavy pressure in my chest, replaying the scene at the altar, trying to understand how everything collapsed so fast. I kept checking my phone, hoping Ryan would at least send an explanation, something to make sense of what he did. But he didn't. Every call I made went to voicemail. Every text was left undelivered. It was like he had erased me overnight. My mom tried to keep me busy, cooking meals, taking me for walks, talking to me like I was fragile. My dad handled it differently, quiet, giving me space, checking on me with small gestures. They didn't ask too many questions, because I think they already knew I wasn't ready to talk. I wasn't ready to accept the reality myself. And then there was Chloe. She was everywhere. She texted me every morning, afternoon, and night. She came by uninvited, carrying snacks, coffee, or some new self-care, items she insisted would help me recover faster. At first, I thought she was just being a supportive friend. I had known her for years, and she had always been the one who showed up. But this time, it felt different. It wasn't care, it was urgency, like she needed me to move on immediately, like she wanted to control how I healed. Whenever I mentioned Ryan, even just wondering out loud what happened, Chloe's whole attitude changed. She would stiffen, stare at the floor, or quickly change the subject. Sometimes she would tell me, almost too sharply, "Don't think about him. He doesn't deserve your energy." Her tone didn't sound supportive, it sounded defensive. And the more I noticed it, the more uneasy I felt. Her phone became another thing. She never used to hide her screen from me, but now she held it close to her chest whenever she got a message. If it buzzed while she was near me, she would jump and flip it face down. Once, when she thought I wasn't looking, she deleted an entire conversation thread before putting the phone in her bag. It was so quick and subtle, but I caught it. And the moment our eyes met afterward, she looked almost scared. I tried to tell myself I was imagining things, that trauma was making me paranoid. But the strange tension whenever Ryan's name came up, the way Chloe avoided eye contact, the sudden excuses to step outside and take calls, it all started building in my mind. Something didn't add up. One evening, she told me I needed to let go and move forward, because dragging it out would only make things worse. Something about the way she said it made me stop. How would she know anything about what would get worse? What was she so afraid of? I wanted to ask her, but I held back. I wasn't strong enough yet to peel back any layers of truth. I could barely handle the surface of my own pain. Still, deep inside, a quiet suspicion began to grow, slow, steady, impossible to ignore. It took almost 2 weeks before Ryan finally decided to call me. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at nothing, when my phone lit up with his name. For a moment, my heart jumped the way it used to, but it dropped just as quickly. I answered because I needed some kind of explanation, even if it hurt. His voice was flat, almost like he was reading a script. He said he got cold feet, that he panicked, and that he needed space. Every word sounded practiced, like he had memorized it ahead of time. There was no emotion, no regret, no sign that he understood what he had done to me. It felt like he was trying to close the door on our entire relationship without actually taking responsibility. I asked him why he didn't talk to me before the wedding, why he waited until I was standing there in front of everyone. He just kept repeating the same excuse, like he didn't have anything else to offer. At one point, it sounded like he was rushing to end the call, like he didn't want to give me the time to process or question anything. When the call ended, I sat there in silence, feeling more confused than before. Cold feet didn't explain the months of planning, the way he held my hands during our rehearsal dinner, or the promises he made just days before. His voice held something else, something heavier. It wasn't fear. It was guilt. And the more I replayed that call, the more sure I became of it. Later that afternoon, Chloe came over. She found me sitting in the living room, still shaken from the call. Before I could even finish telling her what Ryan said, she cut me off with a sharp, "He's not worth your tears, Emma." Her voice was surprisingly forceful, almost angry. I tried to talk through my thoughts, but she kept shutting down every attempt. Each time I mentioned his tone, or the strange way he spoke, she got tense. She kept insisting he was immature, a coward, someone I should be grateful to be rid of. But her face betrayed her. She looked nervous, almost irritated when I pushed for answers he didn't give me. At one point, I told her I felt like he was hiding something. Instead of agreeing or offering support, she snapped, "You're overthinking it. Just move on." And then she quickly changed the subject, almost like she didn't want me focusing too hard on anything connected to him. Her reaction didn't feel like comfort. It felt like defense. That night, while lying in bed, I couldn't ignore the feeling building inside me. My instincts were no longer whispering. They were screaming. Nothing about the situation made sense. Not Ryan's sudden disappearance, not his empty explanation, and definitely not Chloe's strange behavior every time his name came up. I didn't have proof yet, but something inside me knew I wasn't being told the whole truth. And whatever was being hidden, it wasn't small. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept circling around Ryan's empty excuses and Chloe's strange reactions. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the church, the empty doorway, and the look on Chloe's face when I told her about the call. It wasn't comfort. It was something else, something she was trying to hide. Around 3 a.m, I finally gave up on sleep and decided to sort through some boxes in my room. I thought keeping my hands busy would calm me down. As I opened one of the boxes, an old stack of photos slipped out. Most of them were from parties, small trips, and random moments with our group of friends. I almost put them away when one picture caught my eye. It was taken at a 4th of July barbecue last year. I was sitting on a picnic blanket, laughing at something someone said. Ryan was standing behind me, holding a plate. But my eyes didn't go to him first, they went to Chloe. She was standing next to him, looking right at him with this soft, warm expression. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't casual. It was almost tender. A look someone gives when they're in love or when they're trying hard not to show it. I stared at that photo for a long time. My stomach tightened, and a cold shiver ran through me. I had never noticed that look before. Back then, I was too busy believing everything was normal. Too busy trusting the people closest to me. But now, knowing what I knew, that expression didn't feel harmless. It felt like a warning I had missed. As I sifted through more photos, other memories surfaced, little things I brushed off at the time. The nights Chloe rushed out because she had a late work emergency. The times she got overly defensive when someone joked about Ryan. The way she always seemed to speak for him, especially when we argued. And there were moments when I would arrive at her place unexpectedly, and she looked like she had just had an intense conversation or had been crying. She always had a quick explanation, and I always believed her. Now those explanations felt thin, like they were covering up something much bigger. Sitting on the floor surrounded by old photos, I started connecting dots I didn't want to connect. These weren't random memories. They were small signs I ignored because I trusted her. Because she was my best friend. Because betrayal wasn't something I ever expected from someone who had slept over at my house 100 times, shared secrets, cried with me, celebrated my milestones. But the more I replayed everything, the more uneasy I felt. That picture alone made something inside me shift. It was like the quiet part of my mind, the part one had been trying to silence, finally spoke clearly. Maybe Ryan wasn't the only one hiding something. Maybe the person standing beside me throughout the entire wedding chaos was the very reason it happened. I didn't have proof, not yet, but my heart knew I was getting closer to something painful. And whatever it was, I could feel it waiting just beneath the surface, ready to break me all over again. The next afternoon, Chloe showed up at my parents' house again, but something about her felt different. She wasn't calm or overly cheerful the way she had been for the past few weeks. She seemed jumpy, like she couldn't stay still. She kept touching her hair, checking her phone, and pacing around the living room while trying to pretend everything was normal. I watched her more closely this time. I didn't see a supportive best friend. I saw someone who was afraid of slipping, someone who knew more than she wanted to admit. The picture I found the night before was still sitting in the back of my mind, making every moment with her feel tense. We sat down, and she tried to talk about random things like new restaurants or plans she thought I should make to move forward. Her voice was too fast, too forced. I was quiet, letting her fill the silence, because I wanted to see what she would reveal on her own. Then it happened. She was talking about how I needed to stop focusing on Ryan's disappearance, saying I shouldn't even want to go to his apartment to get my things. And then, completely out of nowhere, she said, "You don't need to worry about the couch blocking the hallway. It's probably still pushed against the wall." I froze. My breath caught in my throat. Chloe didn't know his apartment layout. She had never been there. I knew she hadn't because I remembered showing her pictures online, not in person. She had never stepped foot inside. There was no reason for her to know where the couch was or how the furniture was arranged. When I didn't respond, she finally looked up and saw my expression. Her face went pale for a second. She realized what she had said. Her lips parted, and for a moment, it looked like she was going to confess something. But then she forced a laugh, too loud, too quick, and said, "Oh, I just guessed. You know, most apartments have similar layouts." Total lucky guess. A lucky guess wouldn't include specific details. A lucky guess wouldn't mention the hallway. And a lucky guess wouldn't make her so nervous that she could barely look at me afterward. I didn't argue with her. I didn't push. I just nodded slowly and said nothing. But inside me, something shifted. My heartbreak was changing, hardening. It wasn't just pain anymore. It was suspicion mixing with anger. It was the realization that this wasn't just Ryan's betrayal. Someone else was deeply involved. Chloe kept talking, but her voice felt far away. I couldn't stop replaying her slip-up. I couldn't stop remembering how she looked at Ryan in that old photo, how she hid her phone, how she pushed me to heel as if she needed me to stop digging. Everything she had said since the wedding suddenly sounded rehearsed, as if she was following a script just like Ryan. It was becoming clear that she didn't want me asking questions. Not about him, and not about the past few months. For the rest of her visit, she avoided my eyes. Every move she made felt careful, as if she was walking through a minefield. When she finally left, the silence in the house felt different. It wasn't comforting. It was confirmation that something bigger was happening behind my back. And now I was done ignoring the signs. I kept replaying Chloe's slip-up for days. Everything inside me felt tight and uneasy, like I was standing on the edge of a truth I wasn't ready for. I tried to keep things normal, but my trust in her was fading fast. So when she left her jacket in my parents' living room after one of her rushed visits, I decided to return it myself. Part of me wanted to see her face, to watch how she reacted when she wasn't prepared. When I got to her house, I knocked lightly. She didn't answer right away. I could hear movement inside, quick footsteps, things being shuffled around. After a long pause, she finally opened the door just an inch, her face tense. When she saw it was me, she tried to smile, but it looked forced. I just came to drop this off, I said, holding out her jacket. She hesitated before opening the door wider and telling me to come in. The moment I stepped inside, I felt a strange air of panic in the house. Something was off. The living room looked messy, like she had tried to clean in a rush but didn't finish. She kept hovering near me, talking fast, trying to steer me toward the kitchen. I was about to hand her the jacket and leave when a faint sound reached my ears. A soft cry. A baby's cry. It stopped me in place. I turned toward the hallway, confused. Chloe froze. Her whole body went stiff, and her smile disappeared instantly. Is someone here? I asked. She stepped in front of me so quickly it startled me. Oh, it's my cousin's baby. She dropped him off for a little while. Just helping out. Her voice shook on the last words, and she blocked the hallway with her whole body like she expected me to push past her. My heart started pounding. Chloe never once mentioned watching a baby. She never talked about a cousin with a child. And the sound behind her wasn't the quiet gurgle of a relaxed infant. It was a cry of a baby who lived there. I didn't say anything. I tried to stay calm and just looked past her shoulder. That's when I saw it. Sitting on the floor near the bedroom door was a diaper bag. A plain blue bag with embroidered letters on the front. Blake. Ryan's last name. Everything inside me dropped. My hands went cold. It felt like my whole body was moving underwater as I tried to process what I was seeing. That bag wasn't a coincidence. You don't just find a baby's diaper bag with your ex-fiancé's last name stitched into it in your best friend's house. Chloe saw where I was looking and immediately reached behind her to block the view. It's not what you think, she blurted, her voice cracking. I swear, Emma, just listen. But I couldn't hear her. My ears were ringing. My head felt like it was splitting open. Every memory, every strange moment, every excuse, every slip-up, all of it slammed together at once. There was only one explanation. Only one truth she could possibly be hiding. My best friend had a baby. And that baby was connected to Ryan. I stepped back slowly, feeling like the floor might give way under my feet. Chloe reached out like she wanted to grab my arm, but I moved away from her. She looked terrified, but I didn't care anymore. My entire world had already fallen apart. Now it was just showing me the pieces. I didn't need her explanations. The truth was already screaming at me. I didn't sleep after leaving Chloe's house. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that diaper bag with Blake stitched into the front. I heard the baby crying. I saw the panic in Chloe's eyes. There was no more room for denial. I needed answers, and I knew exactly who had to give them first. The next morning, I drove to Ryan's apartment. I didn't call, didn't warn him. My hands shook the whole way there, but my anger kept me steady enough to knock on his door. When he opened it and saw me, the color drained from his face instantly. He looked like he had seen a ghost. I didn't waste time. Whose baby is it? I asked. My voice sounded strange, even to me. Calm, but cutting. He opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again like he was trying to find the right lie. But I wasn't in the mood for lies. Don't even try, I said. I know. Just tell me the truth. His shoulders dropped, and he leaned against the doorframe as if his legs couldn't hold him. He didn't even invite me in. He just stared at the floor and whispered, Emma, I'm sorry. That was all it took. He broke. Words spilled out of him faster than I could process. He said he had been seeing Chloe for a while. When I demanded how long, he finally admitted it, over a year. My stomach twisted so hard I felt sick. A year meant he was cheating on me while helping me plan our future, kissing me goodnight, and talking about wedding colors. I asked about the baby. He nodded slowly, shame covering his face. He's mine, he whispered. Those words hit me like a physical blow. I had to grab the railing beside his door to stay steady. 6 months old. That meant Chloe was pregnant halfway through my engagement, maybe even earlier. Every moment I had leaned on her during wedding planning, she had already been hiding something that would destroy me. Ryan kept talking, his voice shaky. He said Chloe was the one who panicked most about me finding out. She begged him not to tell me, begged him to keep it quiet, until after the wedding. She wanted him to marry me, start a new chapter, and somehow figure out the rest later. Their plan made no sense, but desperate people don't think straight. The night before our wedding, Ryan said the guilt became unbearable. Not enough to confess, but enough to run. Enough to humiliate me instead of facing what he had done. He kept apologizing, repeating it over and over like that could undo anything. I wasn't crying. I thought I would, but there were no tears left. I felt empty, hollow, like someone had scooped out my insides and left only shock behind. Betrayal from Ryan hurt, but betrayal from Chloe, my best friend since childhood, was a wound so deep I couldn't even feel all of it yet. I stood there for a moment, letting his confession sink in. Then I said quietly, "You didn't just break me. You both did." He reached out like he wanted to touch my arm, but I stepped back. I didn't scream. I didn't curse. I just walked away, leaving him in the doorway with his guilt and his silence. The truth was out, but it didn't make anything easier. It only made the betrayal sharper. The two people I trusted most had been building a secret life behind my back. And now that I knew the truth, there was no going back. Not for any of us. Emma felt numb, but she refused to let the pain control her. After hearing the truth from Ryan, she knew she couldn't trust either of them again. Still, she understood that staying silent would only give them more space to twist the story and make her look weak. She started with the simplest step, collecting evidence. Ryan had always been careless with his things, and now that she was looking closely, she realized how much he had left lying around. His phone had old messages from Chloe, complaining about how Emma was in the way, and how Ryan needed to grow up and choose the right woman. Seeing those words hurt, but they also made her stronger. She took pictures of everything. She found hospital papers Ryan had shoved into a drawer, the kind people receive after a baby's checkup. They listed visits that matched the months when Ryan told her he was working late. She recognized Chloe's handwriting on a few notes attached to them. It became clear that Chloe had been preparing for this baby long before Emma even suspected anything. The lies were deep, and they stretched far back. Emma kept gathering each piece quietly, making sure she didn't alert them too soon. As she dug deeper, she understood Chloe's real plan. Chloe wasn't just having an affair. She had been shaping a future with Ryan and her child, one where Emma slowly faded out of their lives. She read messages where Chloe encouraged Ryan to give Emma space, stop being so soft with her, and let things fall apart naturally. Chloe wanted Ryan to drift away until Emma felt it was her fault. It wasn't just betrayal, it was manipulation. Emma felt the sting of every message, but instead of breaking her, they sharpened her focus. She realized they wanted a clean exit, a way to start their relationship openly without looking like the bad ones. But Emma had no intention of letting them build their happy ending on her heartbreak. She knew that exposing the truth was the only way to stop their quiet little scheme. Not by shouting or hurting anyone, but by letting their own actions face the light. She didn't rush. She planned slowly, carefully. She kept copies of everything and backed them up. She stayed calm around both of them, never hinting that she knew more than they thought. She wanted them to stay comfortable, careless, unaware that the truth was gathering strength right in front of them. Inside, her pain hadn't faded, but something steadier had taken its place. She felt a kind of determination she had never known before. They had taken her trust, her relationship, even the future she had dreamed of, but they wouldn't take her voice. She was going to make sure their story collapsed under the weight of their own lies. And when it did, she would be standing, stronger than before. Emma knew she had to be careful. She wanted the truth out, but she didn't want it to turn messy or violent. After days of planning, she decided to call a meeting with both families. She chose a neutral place, a small community hall, and made sure everyone she needed to be there could attend. Emma wanted the confrontation to be calm, controlled, and undeniable. When Chloe and Ryan arrived, they didn't expect the seriousness in Emma's eyes. Their casual expressions faltered the moment they saw her. She invited everyone to sit, keeping her voice steady and her composure tight. She started slowly, giving the background of the wedding and how she had been left at the altar. She didn't shout or cry. She let her calm tone make the words sharper. Then she moved to the evidence she had gathered. She showed messages between Ryan and Chloe, highlighting the plans they had made to hide the affair. She presented hospital documents showing the baby's age and Chloe's involvement, alongside the financial support Emma had unknowingly given them over the months. Payments for Ryan's medical bills, Chloe's groceries, even contributions toward the baby's needs. Each proof piece was laid out clearly, so no one could misinterpret it or dismiss it. Chloe's face went pale. Her lips trembled as she tried to explain, but the words faltered, and finally, she broke down completely. Tears ran down her cheeks, and she whispered apologies that sounded hollow in front of everyone. Ryan tried to speak, stammering, trying to shift blame, muttering something about confusion, and not knowing what to do. But his words didn't land. The evidence spoke louder than anything he could say. Families reacted immediately. Ryan's mother gasped and clutched her chest, furious and shocked, realizing she had unknowingly become a grandmother without any warning. Emma's parents were equally angry, but proud that she had handled the situation calmly. Chloe's parents looked stunned, unable to believe their daughter had plotted something so calculated. The room was tense, but Emma stayed grounded. She didn't need to yell or fight. The truth was heavy enough on its own. As she watched Chloe cry and Ryan falter, Emma felt a strange lightness spread through her chest. For the first time in months, she didn't feel crushed by heartbreak. She felt in control. She had exposed the lies, shown the manipulation, and revealed the betrayal. She had taken back her power, not by hurting anyone physically, but by letting the truth do the work. After everyone left, the room quieted. Emma remained standing, feeling her shoulders relax for the first time. She looked at the empty hall and realized something important. The people who had betrayed her couldn't touch her anymore. Their plans, their schemes, and their lies had all been revealed. And for the first time since the altar, she felt free. The weight that had pressed down on her chest for weeks lifted, leaving space for something she hadn't felt in a long time: peace. A few weeks after exposing Chloe and Ryan, Emma decided she needed a complete change. She packed her things and moved to a small city in Colorado, far from the reminders of betrayal and heartbreak. The mountains, the quiet streets, and the new environment gave her a sense of calm she hadn't felt in months. Every day felt like a fresh start, a chance to rebuild herself without the weight of their lies pressing on her. At first, it was difficult. She missed her old routines, the friends she had trusted, and even the idea of what her life could have been. But gradually, she found strength in her independence. She took up a new job at a local clinic, joined a small hiking group, and started exploring the city's hidden corners. Each small success reminded her that she didn't need anyone to validate her worth or happiness. Back in her old city, Ryan and Chloe were trying to put their lives together, but it wasn't easy. The guilt of what they had done haunted them constantly. Their families didn't trust them anymore, and they found themselves in constant arguments, blaming each other for everything that went wrong. Their fresh start had crumbled faster than either of them expected. What they thought would be a simple plan for happiness turned into endless stress, shame, and regret. One evening, Emma's phone buzzed with a message from Ryan. He apologized and asked for a chance to talk, to find closure. She read it carefully, feeling a brief flicker of old hurt, but no temptation. She typed a reply slowly, clearly, with all the calm strength she had built in these months. "You didn't free me. You reminded me what I deserved. And it was never you," she wrote. Sending it felt like dropping the last heavy stone from her chest. There was no anger left, no need for revenge or explanation. The message was final. Ryan had his guilt, she had her freedom. After that, she turned her focus fully to herself. She decorated her small apartment the way she wanted, explored new hobbies, and even made a few new friends who didn't carry the weight of betrayal. She learned to trust her instincts again and to protect her heart without closing it off entirely. Each day, she felt lighter, stronger, and more at peace. Emma realized that happiness wasn't about the people she lost or the ones who hurt her. It was about reclaiming herself. The pain, the betrayal, the heartbreak, they had all taught her lessons she would carry forever. She didn't need Ryan or Chloe to validate her life. Standing on a hiking trail one morning, looking at the sun rising over the mountains, she felt it fully: freedom, independence, and peace. A future she controlled entirely. Her life was hers again, untouched by their lies, untouched by their betrayal. And for the first time in a long time, Emma smiled genuinely, knowing she had finally won. Not through revenge, but by taking back her own power.